All right, so on this one, we're going to go over how to navigate and start or create a new survey style, and then also showing you how to edit those survey styles. So what you want to do is go to your menu, go down to settings, survey styles. As you can see, I have quite a few that are already on here. The FDOT one is a network for the FPRN network. I have RTK, RTK cell, RTK internal using the internal radio, and then RTK logging. Um, it's pretty easy to set up survey styles, so I just go ahead and set up. These are the four primary ones that I use when using RTK. I don't have to worry about going in and changing any settings, but I'll take you into one that I already have set up. Well, let's back up. To start a new one, you'll just hit new, create yourself a name. So let's do R12 RTK GNSS, enter, accept, and it takes you here to this screen, which is the same as this right here. So once you're in, your rover options, RTK, CMRX for your broadcast format. I'm using an R12i internal, so I have that on. I measured at my bottom a quick release. You do have an option to measure to the bottom of R12i extension. The antenna phase center and the bottom of antenna mount, those you would want to use either one of those if you were using like an R8 receiver. So bottom of quick release, antenna height, if you're using a 2 meter fixed rod, you can simply just type in 2M, hit enter, and it converts it automatically to 6.56 or 6.52565. Let's see, I can't remember. Oops. 2 meter, 6.562. Yeah, I was right. I use an adjustable rod, so I leave mine empty. IMU tilt compensation, you're going to want that on if you have the eye. Leave the AR viewer on. I'll do a video on this and also the IMU tilt compensation. The E-bubble, I find it more convenient to leave it off. Personal preference. Station index, any. Prompt station index, yes. Satellite differential, leave it off. Elevation mask, leave it at 10%. Your PDOT mask, 6. Factory, typically it's just your GPS LC2s, your GLONASS, your Galileo, and your Badai, whatever you want to call that one, is what's typically selected, or the L5 and Galileo. You're going to want to go in and make sure the other ones, make sure all of them are checked. This will give you maximum usage of your satellites. If your base is set up wide open at a good time of the day, it would not be uncommon to see 30 to 35 satellites easy on your base, which means on your rover having the same setup, you're going to get, within 2 or 3 less of what your base has. Auto tolerance for roving precision. If you put it to no, you can change what it is. This is what they are standard, so you can put it to yes. It really doesn't matter. Exfil, you can turn that on or turn it off. It does have some good uses depending on the application, but I just leave mine off. I find it easier. Just make sure you hit accept when you're done. Your over data link, radio receiver internal. If I was connected to my unit, I'd show you, but when you connect, it just connects to the internals of the unit. You're able to go ahead and preset your radio frequency and your baud rate. But again, you always want to make sure you hit accept when you make any edits. Your base options, pretty much the same thing as your rover options. Your survey type, your broadcast format, your antenna type is going to be the R12 internal if you're running an R12. If you're running an R10, you're going to go pick. There's the R10 Model 2, the R10. You can run an R8 if you want. Wouldn't suggest, but you can. Also, bottom of quick release. Station index, elevation mask, leave those. Again, make sure all your satellites are selected, because your rover is only going to utilize the constellations that your base is using. So if on your base you only have GPS, GPSLT2, and GLONASS and Galileo, on your rover, even though you have all of them selected, are only going to use information from the GPS, GPSLT2, GLONASS, and Galileo. You do yourself a huge disservice if you do not check and make sure that all of your satellite constellations are selected on both your base and your rover. Hit accept. Now your base data link. This is where you can run into some trouble if you find yourself having communication errors out in the field. This will be the place you want to look first. Type radio. Your radio type is your radio itself, the Trimble TDL450. That's what I use. Your controller port, COM1, external serial port 1. Receiver port 1. So on the R10s and R12s, you have two data ports. You have two receiver ports. I believe one's when you pull the covers off, one is yellow and one's black. The yellow is more for data transfer, like if you're pulling receiver files off, and battery. The black port will be your, that'll be the port that it communicates out of. So that's what it'll be sending and receiving, what it wants to send through the radio to the radio. Now your baud rate, this guy right here, this is not, I say again, this is not the same as the radio like frequency baud rate. On the TDL450 radio itself, when you're flipping through the settings manually, you'll come across a serial baud rate. That is this baud rate right here. This baud rate acts as the gatekeeper. The base will not be able to communicate with your external radio if this baud rate is not the same when using a TDL450. These have to be the same. Doesn't matter which one you pick. Take your pick, you got a bunch. Just make sure it is exactly the same and you never need to change it. If this baud rate is different than the serial baud rate, you can start your survey and it will tell you your survey is started, but you will not have radio. And your parity is none. If you want to make sure that you set this up properly, have your base all set up, have your base unit on, make sure your radio has power. You don't have to start your survey, just hit connect. If you're connected Bluetooth-wise to your base unit and your base is on and your radio is on and they're connected, when you hit connect, it will allow you access to the internals of the radio itself. Once you get to that point, you know for sure they're communicating with each other. So when you're done here, you just hit accept. And then you can go to your topo points. You can set parameters for those. Your observed control points, you can do the same, rapid points, stakeout. But when you're all done, you want to hit store. If you don't hit store, everything that you did goes out the window and you have to do it all over again. Nobody likes to do that. So please remember to hit store. Then when you're done, it brings you back to your survey style screen. You can either hit escape. You can just, easiest thing to do, just hit escape. Brings you right back to your main menu, your map screen, and you're done. Hope that was helpful.